And we'll get started. My name is Joan Woodard, and I'm the hearing examiner this evening. The purpose of this hearing is to allow me to receive evidence and testimony on the matters that are pending. I make a recommendation only to the county commissioners. I do not make the final decision. I will be submitting my recommendation to staff within 2 weeks of this evening's hearing. The application will then be scheduled for deliberations before the county commissioners. If you wish to give testimony, I need you to fill out one of the sheets in the side over there. And when you come to the podium, please give me your name and address for the record before you begin your testimony. First, staff will introduce the application, then we will hear from the applicant. After the applicant's testimony, we will then get into the public comment sheets. We will hear from those who are in favor, those who are neutral, and then those who are opposed. The public not speaking will be read into the record. We will then give the applicant and/or their representative an opportunity for rebuttal of any of the testimony stated into the record from the public before we close the public hearing. After that point, we will receive no more testimony. The time limits are 30 minutes for the applicant's presentation, 5 minutes for public testimony, and 15 minutes for applicant rebuttal. I would ask that you direct all of your testimony to me and not to the audience. Are there any questions regarding these proceedings tonight? Not seeing any, we will start with case number CUP 20-0009, and that's Zach.
Yes. Good evening. Planner Zach Trevino for the record. Case number CUP 20-0009 is a request for an expansion of a non-conforming church and school to add 4 portable buildings on the property. However, we have late-breaking information that came to staff's attention last week regarding a non-compliance on an adjacent parcel under common ownership. The parcel you see highlighted here in red is west of the subject parcel on which the church is located. And it was brought to staff's attention that there was a school called Quest Academy, separate from the school under consideration, that was operating out of the residence, and that some construction work had taken place within the residence without having been permitted. Because of this information, we spoke with the applicant and code enforcement, and it was determined that there are potential violations based on the fact that in the agricultural zone, a school does require a conditional use permit, and also from a building standpoint, that construction would need to be permitted. And so the applicant has requested that this public hearing be continued to a future date uncertain in order for them to pursue a remedy to these violations prior to proceeding. And so the applicant has made that request and is not prepared to present tonight. And I present that for your information going forward. And I can certainly answer some questions about that, but that's the situation as of tonight based on the information that we have.
Madam Hearing Examiner?
Yes.
David Callahan, Community Development Director. The one thing Zach didn't add is the connection between the application tonight and what he described next door. It's one and the same owner. The church owns the property that Zach described, and they're running the school. And our policy, and it's actually written into the code, is we don't process cases where an applicant is violating code.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Okay, so I will stop sharing and
Okay, I agree with your recommendation to postpone and bring it back later.
And we'll do that indefinitely, meaning we'll re-advertise and do the whole process all over.
Okay, very good. Then that closes our hearing on case number CUP 20-0009 for this evening. Now we'll hear case number VAR 20-0008.
Good evening. For the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. Let me just share my screen. This is a request by Ms. Baker for a variance, or for 2 different variances to the front yard setback requirements. Just a second. The subject parcel of land is located on Hayden Lake. It's a waterfront property that is approximately approximately fifth of an acre in size. It's currently vacant, and it gains access directly off of Waverly Loop, which is a private road. The property is also located within the City of Hayden Lake area of city impact, and the requirements of the City of Hayden Lake is that the applicant pay impact fees for any development within their area of city impact. The peculiar circumstances of this request are that you have the public right-of-way of English Point Road, and then you also have previously dedicated road utility easement along the public right-of-way, as well as the private road easement for Waverly Loop. They're not all parallel, but the way you can, it's laid out physically on the property is that the two rights-of-ways or the two easements, they traverse through the property partially, and the Waverly Loop easement actually bisects the property. Because of that, and because of steep slopes, there is very limited area for development on this property. When staff originally met with the applicant, we discussed how far they would like to keep the residents from both the private and public road rights-of-ways. And the applicant advised us at the time that they really had to be as close as possible to the existing private road because of the steepness of the site. The slopes on site, in my view, based on staff's site visit, are in excess of 70 to 80%. It's a cliff going downhill towards Hayden Lake. We advised the applicant originally that we would support a variance. However, they need to make sure that not just the footprint, but any overhangs associated with the structure would not be encroaching into the existing private road easement. It's a fairly narrow road, and it provides access to parcels beyond. These are some of the photos of the property in question and the adjoining parcel further west. As you can see, it's very steep. In fact, this retaining wall is roughly 2 stories high, and then it has a residence up above that. So I don't know to what extent the applicant will engineer the site, but they did submit a comprehensive geotechnical analysis that states that based on soil samples on site, they were able to determine that it's reasonable for development. Because of the recommendation stated in this document, staff submitted a condition of approval in the staff report that any future development must comply with the recommendations and requirements of this document. Through the agency comment period, we solicited comments comments listed on the screen, and none of the agencies had any opposition or concerns. Therefore, we didn't see there being any issue moving forward with this application. Through the public comment period, we received 2 comments, one in support and one with concerns that while the structure is being built, it's possible that there could be issue with blocking the private road. We, as a department, certainly don't have any, we can't oversee the development of the site, but we would hope that the contractor is responsible and and is able to keep the road clear of any vehicles or any material for property owners down beyond the subject site being able to access their homes. Staff's analysis is that due to steep slopes and limited development on this property and location of the existing private road easement and public right-of-way, we believe that this variance should be approved at this time. I stand for any questions that you may have.
Zach, are there other similar variances for other properties in this area?
I I don't
mean,
have that
Plaid.
information for you. I'm not
Plaid.
familiar with any next door.
Because it would appear that there must be.
It certainly depends when this house was built. I don't know the date of when this was built, but I do know that in the past, over a decade ago or so, the interpretation by the previous leadership may have been somewhat different for setbacks from private roads. It's been only about a decade since we started enforcing the regulations to require setbacks from private roads. But I don't know of any specific variance that has been processed in the immediate area.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions of you at the moment. So we'll move on to the applicant's representative.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Sandy Young, 3906 North Schreiber Way, Coeur d'Alene. Just to follow up on what Vlad stated, there are 13 other homes along there that all would require a variance had that provision been in the code. But he's exactly right. When I worked for the county, and it's been 14 years now, you did not have to set back from an easement or a right-of-way, only from the actual road itself. Or actually, no, I take it back, only from the property line, but you couldn't encroach within a roadway. So that being said, this is certainly compatible with the neighborhood and won't be injurious to the neighborhood. I wonder, do you have this colored site plan?
I don't have it colored, no.
Landon brought one, I know, for you. This helped me. I had our draftsman put the color in so it makes it very clear. This is probably one of the most confusing variances I've ever processed, whether both in the county and outside the county. So you'll see in the yellow that that's the actual prescriptive easement for English Point Road. Do you have an extra? I think it would help me. Oh, okay. And then the green, as shown, is the 15-foot wide roadway drainage and utility easement for English Point Road, which you can see runs exactly parallel to the road. And then the purple or the blue is actually Waverly Loop. So it's a quirky one, and so bisected, you could see that Miss Baker's property line actually goes to the center line of English Point Road, and then extends all the way down into Hayden Lake. And just to clarify for the record, on the front of the PowerPoint where it said that we're asking for setbacks in the front property, and I don't think it said lines on there, but she is within all of her property line setbacks, so it is only for easement. They're trying to stay back from the 25, or stay out of the 25-foot setback, obviously, so that that section of the property isn't disturbed. And the footprint you see of the house does include all overhangs and decks. So there's quite a bit of deck, as you would imagine, on the front, and that's what makes the footprint a little bit larger than your standard house. I know,
3,300 square feet?
Yes, but much of that is deck. And as I stated in my narrative, it's to make that lot actually usable and livable, because otherwise it isn't. Yes, it's a 1 to 1.7 slope. I'd like to also just state that I know the granting of a variance isn't a right or a privilege under Idaho code, and that the granting of the variance, you must show a topographic hardship or a hardship of some kind. And I would call out the site characteristics as well as the fact that it's bisected by the easements and the rights-of-way. And that shoreline preservation is a priority. It will not be injurious to the neighborhood, as there are 13 other homes that all step right off their front porch onto Waverly Loop. I'm sure you saw that if you drove out there. Waverly Loop is open on both ends, and we would welcome a condition that the contractor do his best to not impede any type of ingress and egress on that road during construction. I read through the conditions of approval. All of those are fine. I know Lakes Highway said, hey, what about snow melt and drainage? I would suggest that perhaps as a condition, you ask that the site disturbance plan that's prepared for this and the stormwater management plan specifically address snow melt and drainage off of English Point Road. Waverly isn't paved. It's fairly pervious, but that should be a consideration as well. And I really don't have anything else unless you have some questions for me. I think Vlad answered most of those.
Is this likely to have a garage that you would enter off
Yes.
Waverly Loop?
Yes.
So that there's a place for
A
the
park,
cars?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good point because also a great portion of that footprint is garage.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any public who has none here?
None on Zoom.
Nope. Okay, then. There being nothing further, we'll close the hearing on case number VAR 20-0008 and open the hearing on case number VAR 21-0003.
That's queuing up.
Okay.
Once again, for the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. This is a request case number VAR 21-0003 by Mr. Richards. The request is for a side yard variance setback requirements in the restricted residential zone. The subject parcel is located on the west side of Coeur d'Alene Lake, just east of Worley, so it's on the southern end of Kootenai County. The property measures approximately 1/4 acre in size, and it has an existing cabin on it. The existing cabin is currently considered non-conforming because, as you can see, based on the location of the structure and the 10-foot side yard setbacks, it's actually encroaching into the northern and southern side yard setbacks. The request before you tonight is the applicant is looking to reconstruct a deck that was recently removed. It was in a dilapidated state and it was structurally not sound for the residents, and Mr. Richards wants to reconstruct it in this approximately the same footprint. However, as you can see based on the two photos up in the upper left, the previous staircase was running perpendicular to the main deck that was on the back side of the house. However, the intent or the desire today is to reconstruct the deck, but construct the staircase with an intermediate landing parallel to the deck, so that because of the steep slopes on site, the way Mr. Richards wants to design the staircase is so that it could also meet the rise over run requirements in the building code, and it would be much easier to construct it with slopes with the existing grade location next to the deck versus running it perpendicular towards the lake. And because of that, he would need to increase the existing non-conforming portion area of the deck by approximately 8 feet to run the deck parallel to, or I'm sorry, to run the staircase parallel to the deck with an intermediate landing. It's a very minor expansion of the previous footprint of the deck. It's not further encroaching into the side yard setback next to the adjoining property north, but it is still considered an extension of a non-conforming structure. Through the agency comment period, we received comments in support or with no objection to this request, as it is a very minor and insignificant increase in nonconformity. Based on a public comment period, we received 5 comments in support and no opposition. Pursuant to Kootenai County Land Use and Development Code, Title 8, Section 88702, a nonconforming structure cannot be expanded or enlarged in a manner where it increases the nonconformity. Because the footprint of the deck would slightly increase to accommodate the redesign of the staircase, it's considered to be expanding the nonconformity, and it's not allowed. Therefore, the applicant proposed a variance in order to comply with the nonconforming section of the code. Moreover, the code states that any nonconforming structure that's removed within 12 months could actually be reconstructed in its previous location without a need for a variance. But because this is a slight expansion of the deck footprint, the request was submitted to Kootenai County for review and assessment by staff and the hearing examiner. Staff believes that the new design of the deck staircase with an intermediate laning would be such an insignificant impact that we believe that this variance should be approved. And I don't have any additional information to add unless you have any questions for me.
I don't have anything else right now, Vlad, thanks. So now we'll hear from the applicant. We have Charles Richards.
Madam Hearing Examiner, this is my first experience here, so bear with me if you can. I thank you for allowing me to present. My name is Charles Richards. Our home is located on 25102 South Cleland Bay Road, which is across the lake from Harrison. With regards to the property, we've been owners of the property now for 25 plus years. The deck that was deteriorating, we removed for safety issues. The stairway was was rotting and giving us some problems. I've got 20 grandkids that I want to protect. And so we decided to build a new deck. As we designed the deck, Kevin Zerker, who's here tonight, designed the deck. We submitted that and then realized in talking to community development that we had a nonconformity. We sat down and tried to consider other potential options and realized that the characteristics of the site made it difficult to build anything different. Those characteristics included the slope. We do have a retaining wall that comes down, and it's adjacent to a driveway with a garage there, and then about 3 feet to the south of that is a septic tank. Trying to put footings in the appropriate locations and that to be structurally sound made it difficult to move the location of the deck to conform with what the building code allows. And so we're submitting for a variance for that reason. The staircase, as we mentioned, has kind of a...
Sorry, I had that off.
The staircase had kind of a rise to run ratio that was not really considered safe currently, and so we designed the difference in the staircase as Vlad described. Also making it safe with a couple landings so that if one of my grandkids falls, she won't go all the way to the bottom. We We hope that the safety of the deck has been enhanced by the new stairway, appropriate rise to run ratio. The area of nonconformance is, as Vlad mentioned, it's a 1 foot by 6 foot area, so a 6 square foot area in the deck, and it's pretty much over the top of a retaining wall that does fall within that side yard setback of 10 feet. I don't think I have anything else to present. Kevin, did you have anything that you wanted to present? We're obviously requesting a variance. We love our place. We love the Lake Coeur d'Alene. We love the beauty of it, and we love our family, want them safe. So we're requesting this variance, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for me?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
And we have Kevin Zerker, who's in favor and may wish to speak. Okay. Do we, not seeing any other people in person or
No one on
cards?
Zoom.
No one on Zoom? Then we can conclude the hearing on VAR 21-0003 this evening, and we are adjourned. Thank you.